In our headlines on this Tuesday afternoon, March 5th, here in South Korea. Some 7,000 doctors in training now face license suspension as government officials conduct on-site inspections to confirm their absence from hospitals amid concerns of a potential medical collapse. Meanwhile, the United Nations appoints a new resident head to lead its operation in North Korea amid hopes to reopen its office in Pyongyang following pandemic-related closure in 2021. Back on the local front, South Korea's gross national income per capita rose 2.6% on-year last year to $33,745 amid stability in the forex market. Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the Daily Report. Today we start our newscast with live coverage of President Yoon Suk-yeol's opening address at the 17th policy briefing open to members of the public with regard to their livelihoods. Now he's making his opening remark in Gangwon-do City in Gyeongchip province, where he's expected to share plans to better support the academic pursuits and overall future endeavors of Korea's youth by providing broader access to related funding. Highlighting their potential role in national growth, President Yoon is expected to call for greater support to ensure their well-being and more. Now, we will return with our regular newscast after the opening address, which is scheduled to begin a little after 2 this afternoon, that is Tuesday. Now, for those of you that is, who are just tuning in, we are starting our newscast with live coverage of President Yoon Suk-yeol's opening remarks. Now, he is opening the 17th session of policy briefings open to the public with regard to their livelihoods. And this time, the 17th policy briefing is taking place in Gangwon City in Gyeongchip province. Now, I have just been told that the opening address will start a little while later. So for now, we'll start off with our first news story. Government officials are conducting on-site inspections of hospitals to confirm the absence of doctors in training, many of whom now face license suspension. Our Kim Bo-kyung has the latest.
The government on Monday began procedures to suspend the licenses of around 7,000 trainee doctors who have yet to return to work. The deadline for doctors to return to work was last Thursday, but the government has suggested leniency for those who return to duties at hospitals by Sunday. However, not many have returned. The Health Ministry's latest count showed that only 565 resident doctors had adhered to the deadline, with over 8,900 still absent from their posts nationwide. The government already started on-site investigations at 50 of 100 major hospitals on Monday. The investigations will continue at the remaining sites, and the Health Ministry is expected to press ahead with administrative and judicial procedures, such as the suspension of medical licenses for between 3 months and a year.
Government is going to do additional on-site inspections for the remaining 50 hospitals, and as soon as the violations for not returning to work are confirmed, government will start procedures of license suspension. We are going to issue notices of such administrative measures starting Tuesday.
Doctors will be allowed to defend themselves through statements of opinion delivered in the next 2 weeks, before their licenses get officially suspended. In the meantime, police have informed 5 former or current Korean Medical Association executives that they will be summoned for questioning between Wednesday and Thursday. This comes after search and seizure warrants were issued last week. The police have already imposed an overseas travel ban on 4 of them and will soon do the same for the remaining individual. Meanwhile, a total of 40 universities have reportedly informed the Education Ministry of the size of the medical school quota increase. The universities have asked for an increase of 3,401 students, which is more than the figure requested in the previous survey last November. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Right, and we interrupt our regular newscast now to bring you live coverage of President Yoon Suk-yeol's opening remarks at the 17th session of policy briefings open to the public, this time in Gangwon City in Gyeongchip province.
바로
At
모두
ease,
자리에 앉아주시기
please
바랍니다.
take your seats.
안녕하십니까.
Good afternoon, everyone. You are watching the 17th edition of Policy Discussion with Citizens. And my name is Im So-young from the Ministry of Welfare and Employment. The President will deliver his opening remarks.
정말 반갑습니다.
Hello, everyone. It's very nice to see you. So ever since
국민들의 생활 속의
2024, we are holding this policy discussion session every week, and today I'm joined by more than 400 youths and 13 ministries.
지금까지 해온 민생 토론회 중에서
Out of all the policy discussion sessions, this is the most exuberant one, with so many youths of the Republic of Korea, and it is a place where we can be reassured that the government will do our utmost to help the youth. The Republic of Korea will be based on your strength, the youth, and I hope that this is a great opportunity for us to discuss the initiatives. We say that this generation, the young generation of today, are the most and the most excellent generation since the inauguration of the Republic of Korea. And in Rio, like BTS and so many sports talents like Son Heung-min and Lee Ha-sung, we have countless youths who are accelerating in their fields around the world. And not only these people, but there are so many youths around the country who have the capabilities to excel and to really enter the international stage. And it is the responsibility of the nation for these youths to shine. And since my inauguration, I have steadily thought, and it is my conviction, that the youth are the most important partners in the national affairs. It is because the youth can see our society through the most fair and just lens, because they are free and untethered to vested interests or interest cartels, and therefore, to make a fair and just nation, these perspectives of the young people are of utmost importance. And I believe that such perspectives of the young people, the fair and just perspectives, the ones that are not dictated by vested rights and interest cartels. That is why I have made it clear that we are going to, in my government, we are going to incorporate the youths in every corner of the government departments. And I believe that we have seen through the lens of young people many different kinds of initiatives and try to reflect their opinions in the national affairs. And I pledged that when I become the president, that I will bring on board these young people in terms of planning and executing government plans and policies. And therefore, ever since the inauguration of this government, we have appointed youth aides and advisors to 24 departments at the ministerial level. And also from the central government, we have youth intern programs so that they can gain working experience. At first, at the outset, we had employed 2,000 interns, and last year, on the Youth Day, I pledged that this number will go up to 5,000. And we have secured the budget for this initiative. So from this year, first half, we are going to employ 2,800 and other more than 2,000 in the latter half of this year. And this will be expanded so that the young people's participation in national affairs will continue in the local government committees nationwide. So in the future, we are going to expand this initiative so that we can form and build the future of the Republic of Korea with the young people of the country. First of all, the youth should not lose sight of hope, and that is only possible when they do not worry about their work, and they should be able to study and work and pursue their dreams without worry. The National Scholarship Program will be expanded greatly. Out of a total of 2 million university students at the moment, we have 1 million who are receiving the National Scholarship Program, and this number will be increased to 1.5 million. And also, for the students who are combining work and study, we are also greatly expanding Work Scholarship Program. At the moment, the recipients of this program is 120,000, and next year this will be expanded to 200,000. We're also going to newly establish a housing scholarship program which provides up to 2.4 million won annually. We will also increase opportunities for young people to save a lump sum of money, and we have this Youth Leap account, bank account, that has a favorable interest rate, and the subscription period is 5 years at the moment, but we are going to alleviate this to 3 years so that we can help young people utilize this fund and give more young people an opportunity to create their own fund. And also the young people who served in the military, they based on their military salary, they will be able to subscribe in this Youth Leap account so that they have a reliable account. And also, the global capabilities of our young people will also be enhanced. The Dutch company of the equipment company, they have more than 60 nationalities and young people from 60 nationalities who are working in this company. And likewise, the government will try to enhance the capabilities, international capabilities of our Korean youths. And through the summit diplomacy, the government has expanded the youth international exchange programs such as working holidays, the U.S.-Korea West program, and U.S.-Korea Science and Technology Youth Special Exchange Initiative. So we will strengthen the overseas Korean safety system so that the Korean youth can go abroad and work and live in a safe environment as they are at home. And we will not neglect the health and sports of the young people as well. I have pledged the income deduction for sports facilities expenses so that we are going to provide a cultural expense tax deduction for pool and gym membership fees so that there are no one who is left out and cannot use these facilities because of their financial situation. And last year, December, I said that I will take stock on the mental health of our people. And the young people, as I understand, is that they are hesitant to seek counseling and treatment for mental health. So we are going to lower the barriers and support to this end so that their mental health could also can receive help. And also we are going to beef up our support for the young young parents who are struggling with childcare expenses, especially from homes with one parent. So we are going to introduce in a speedy manner the childcare advanced payment system, and it will be the country itself who will take the lead in looking after these people who are feeling vulnerable. And also the child support programs of companies will be exempted from tax exemption, and that will be the benefit for these encouragement funds. I hope that you have a strong conviction in your own dreams. Our future generation can dream as much as they want, and they can take on the challenges as much as they want, and that is where a nation can develop and advance into the future, and that is the responsibility of the government as well as the president. Today, here, we are going to hear your difficulties and predicaments that you are experiencing, and also anything that you would like to ask for the government to help you with, please let us know. I will be your firm supporter. Thank you.
대통령님 말씀 감사합니다.
Right, that was President Yoon Suk-yeol's opening remarks at the 17th session of policy briefings on public livelihoods in Gangwon City in Gyeonggi-do province on this Tuesday, during which he spoke of plans to better support Korea's youth with funding for scholastic pursuits and future professional endeavors. Now, we will bring you more on that in our later newscast. We turn now to our regular newscast. Patients here in Korea continue to bear the brunt of the standoff between government officials and medical practitioners. That is looking to worsen as more physicians join the medical walkout. Our Song Yu-jin reports.
As the nationwide walkout of trainee doctors enters its third week, hospitals are grappling with an increasingly severe shortage of medical staff. Despite the government's warning of license suspensions for doctors who do not return to work, the majority of trainee doctors at hospitals across the country did not show up for duty on Monday. Here at Chungbuk National University Hospital in Chungcheongbuk-do Province, only 8 out of more than 120 who have received return-to-work orders showed up to work. Because of this, only 40% of hospital beds are currently in use, and its emergency room can only accept 1/3 of its usual patient load.
The CT scan results have been delayed for 2 weeks now. We need the results as soon as possible to find the cause and proceed with the proper treatment. But the patient isn't feeling well, and the results aren't out yet, so it's frustrating.
However, these hospitals are expected to face an even more dire shortage of staff due to the absence of new trainee doctors. Hospitals had hoped things would get better when newly appointed interns and residents were due to start in March. However, on Monday, the first workday of the month, even the country's 5 major hospitals located in Seoul did not see the majority of their new trainee doctors. Around 90% of soon-to-be interns at major hospitals in Seoul reportedly withdrew from signing their training contracts last week. While fellow doctors have been filling the healthcare void left by those who resigned, some hospitals are now seeing these doctors also leave their positions. For example, in Jeollanam-do Province at Jeonnam National University Hwasun Hospital, out of the 52 new fellow doctors, 21 gave up their jobs, and 13 out of 16 did so at Joseon University Hospital in the city of Gwangju. In Daegu University Hospital in Cheonan, Chungcheongnam-do Province, only 5 out of 10 fellow doctors have signed their contracts. To help address this medical void, since last month, 12 military hospitals have opened their emergency rooms.
My father broke his hip joint, and because of his existing health issues, finding a hospital for surgery was a challenge. Many hospitals were unavailable due to the walkout, so we were feeling stuck. Then, we saw on TV that military hospitals were opening their emergency rooms to civilians. We gave them a call, they said yes, so we rushed to the hospital.
According to Seoul's defense ministry, so far more than 120 civilians have received medical services at these hospitals. Song Yu-jin, Arirang News.
In other news, Korea's gross national income per capita rebounded last year to well above $33,000, rising 2.6% on year. Our correspondent Moon Hae-ryun has more.
Preliminary data released by the Bank of Korea on Tuesday show that the country's gross national income per capita rose by 2.6% in 2023 compared to the year before, on the back of stabilizing exchange rates. South Korea's GNI per capita jumped to $33,745 last year after dipping below the 33,000 mark in 2022 due to a weak Korean won against the greenback. It first passed the $30,000 mark back in 2017 and peaked to some $35,000 in 2021 during the post-pandemic economic recovery, before plummeting again in 2022, falling below Taiwan's GNI per capita for the first time in 20 years. In 2023, however, South Korea's GNI per capita overtook Taiwan once again due to Taiwan's currency falling against the dollar.
Taiwan's nominal GNI increased by 3.9%, almost the same as Korea's. US dollar exchange rate rose against the local currency by 1.1% last year, but by 4.5% against the Taiwan dollar.
Meanwhile, gross domestic product, which doesn't include overseas earnings, increased by 1.4% on year. The data is unchanged from the central bank's earlier estimate in January and marks the slowest growth seen in 3 years. It's nearly half that of the 2.6% on-year growth recorded in 2022. The central bank mostly attributed the sluggish growth to weak private consumption, which rose by only 1.8% on-year. Small increases in government spending and exports also contributed to the stunted growth, rising by 1.3% and 3.1% on-year respectively. In the fourth quarter last year, South Korea's economy grew by 0.6% on quarter, posting quarterly growth for the fourth consecutive quarter. This is also in line with the BOK's previous estimate. Positive growth in the fourth quarter was mostly led by an increase in exports thanks to a recovery in the chip sector despite a drop in construction investment. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
In the city of Daegu earlier on Monday, President Yoon Suk-yeol pledged tangible support for the city's transformation into a broad base for AI, robotics and mobility initiatives. Our senior correspondent Oh Soo-young covers his remarks.
Daegu City will become a launchpad for South Korea's new leap forward, with multi-million-dollar plans to build a robot test zone and an AI data center there. That's according to President Yoon Suk-yeol on Monday, who held his administration's 16th round of policy discussions on people's livelihoods in the city of Daegu. Building on its traditional trade in machinery, metals and parts, Yoon pledged to redraw Daegu's industrial map, adding world-class infrastructure to support new cutting-edge technologies.
대구의 주력 산업도 AI, 빅데이터를 비롯한 첨단 디지털 기술과 융합하여 고도의 경쟁력을 갖게 될 것입니다. 대구 서남부는 로봇과 모빌리티 산업 거점으로, 대구의 동부는 AI와 디지털 산업 거점으로 키울 것입니다.
The president pledged to back the city's plans to build a $157 million national robot test zone by 2028. The site will offer virtual and real-world settings and supportive facilities for developers to test diverse robots and software. Daegu will also build a national innovation district in its downtown area. The so-called Susong Alpha City will feature a $600 million AI data center built by telecom giant SK to drive world-class research and development in the digital sector by innovative firms of all shapes and sizes. To put the city on the global map, the administration will speed up the construction of a new integrated airport to 2030 and link it to a new high-speed rail line and a private expressway, each stretching from Daegu to upper counties in the wider Gyeongsangbuk-do province. Stressing the need for not only industrial but also cultural infrastructure, the president also said the city will build new entertainment venues in central Daegu to attract young people as well as tourists. It will also develop facilities at Mount Palgongsan, which was newly designated as a national park, as well as construct a contemporary art gallery and a musical complex to add to the city's cultural scenery. To further enhance the well-being of Daegu residents, the government will invest massively in medical schools at universities in and surrounding Daegu, as they increase the number of medical students to provide much-needed access to quality healthcare. This is in line with the administration's firm stance to expand the national enrollment quota on medical schools, which has remained unchanged for some 30 years, despite the sheer shortage of medical staff, especially in areas outside Seoul. Yoon began a series of policy talks in January to engage with citizens nationwide on specific issues affecting key industries, jobs and welfare in their regions. Seoul, Arirang News.
Beyond borders, the United Nations has tapped a new resident head for its mission in North Korea amid hopes to reopen its office in Pyongyang. Our Lee Soo-jin has details.
The UN has appointed a new official to lead its operations in North Korea, raising hopes that UN workers will soon be able to enter North Korea for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic. The United Nations headquarters on Monday local time announced that Secretary General Antonio Guterres on March 1st appointed Joe Colombano as the new resident coordinator for North Korea. This comes amid expectations that UN officials could enter the North for the first time since 2021. Field officials from all international organizations left the North in 2021 after North Korea shut its borders in January 2020. The latest appointment also signals the possibility of members of other international organizations such as the World Health Organization, UN Development Program, and the World Food Program possibly soon crossing North Korea's borders. Colombano, who has over 25 years of experience in international relations, most recently served as the head of the Office of the United Nations Resident Coordinator to China in Beijing. He was also the Director for Sustainable Development at the Executive Office of the Secretary General in New York. He has a background in development finance, having worked at both the World Bank and at the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. As a resident coordinator, he will lead the DPRK team in implementing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which seeks to end poverty and promote peace. His appointment comes after the term of his predecessor, Prodi Moring, ended in December last year. The UN spokesperson said in a briefing on Monday that Colombano will be working from the UN office in Bangkok as Moring did after the North sealed its borders due to the pandemic. Although the exact date for when Colombano can enter the North is yet unclear, the UN spokesperson said that discussions are underway to allow UN staff to return as soon as conditions allow. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, South Korean and American armed forces launched their joint military exercise back on Monday. The exercise, dubbed Freedom Shield, includes almost 50 simulations this year, double the amount conducted last year. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung reports.
South Korea's F-15K fighter jets have arrived at the U.S. Air Force Base in the city of Pyeongtaek to begin Seoul and Washington's first buddy squadron training of the year. The 5-day training began as the Allies on Monday kicked off their annual combined military exercise, Freedom Shield. Monday's air drill is one of many field training exercises conducted during Freedom Shield. This year, there are a total of 48 combined drills on land, at sea, and in the air, double the number in the same period last year. They also conduct computer-simulated command post training with a focus on countering North Korea's nuclear operations. It's based on scenarios that reflect a range of threats within the security environment, such as detecting and intercepting cruise missiles. The navies from both countries got together in Busan on Monday to participate in the command post training, as did the Combined Air Component Command at the Korea Air and Space Operations Center at Osan Air Base. Meanwhile, South Korean reconnaissance aircraft RQ-4 Global Hawk and US RC-135V reconnaissance plane were reportedly spotted in apparent moves to monitor North Korea. Freedom Shield primarily aims to strengthen Seoul and Washington's combined readiness and defensive posture amid escalating North Korean threats, a move most likely to anger the North. The exercise will run until March 14th. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Indeed, as our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung just mentioned, North Korea has shared an angry response to the joint drill by South Korea and the U.S. In a statement by its defense ministry back on Monday, the regime condemned the drill, calling it a rehearsal for war, and vowed that Seoul and Washington would, quote, pay a dear price for their adventurous acts. The statement further claimed Pyongyang would closely monitor the drill by its enemies and commit itself to military actions to ensure security on the Korean peninsula. On the international front, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled against Colorado's efforts to keep Donald Trump from its Republican presidential primary. Our Yoon explains.
A day before Super Tuesday, when the largest number of states will be holding presidential primaries or caucuses, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously restored Donald Trump to the 2024 presidential primary ballots. The state of Colorado had barred Trump from its Republican primary, arguing he incited the 2021 January 6th Capitol riot. While there was sharp disagreement among the Supreme Court justices on the relevance of a post-Civil War provision to prevent former office holders who engaged in insurrection from holding office again, all 9 justices unanimously agreed that Trump remain on the ballot on the basis that the 14th Amendment did not allow individual states to bar the former president from running for president, and that only Congress had that power.
They were unanimous in their ruling, and they said that Colorado is unable to disqualify Trump. Interestingly, they said nothing about the logic of Colorado Supreme Court. They said nothing about the underlying finding that Donald Trump did engage in insurrection, and instead they said procedurally a state can't make that determination, but this is something that Congress has to step up and do.
Trump's case was the first at the Supreme Court dealing with a provision of the 14th Amendment. And while Monday's unanimous ruling is specific to Colorado, it also overrides state-level decisions to remove Trump from the GOP primary ballot in Maine and Illinois, where his inclusion had also been on hold. This was also the High Court's most direct involvement in a presidential election since the case of Bush versus Gore in 2000 regarding a vote recount in the presidential election. With Monday's ruling, the Supreme Court has cleared the way for Donald Trump to remain on the ballot in all 50 states. 이은진, Arirang News.
France has set in stone its women's reproductive rights by becoming the first country to guarantee abortion as a constitutional right. Our Lee Seung-jae covers this event.
The French Parliament on Monday approved a constitutional amendment that stipulates women's freedom to have an abortion, making France the first country in the world to do so. Parliamentarians voted on the constitutional amendment at the Palace of Versailles, passing it with an overwhelming support of 780 in favor and 72 against. The French Constitution will now guarantee a woman's freedom to voluntarily terminate a pregnancy. France's decision to make abortion a constitutional right is in stark contrast to the situation in the United States and an ongoing movement there to roll back abortion rights. In 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court abolished the landmark Roe v. Wade decision, which allowed abortions at up to 24 weeks of pregnancy, effectively banning abortion in the country. While several other countries around the world have included reproductive rights in their constitutions, France is the first to explicitly state that an abortion will be guaranteed as a right. Polls showed around 85% of the public supported amending the Constitution to protect the right to an abortion in a country where abortion has been legal since 1975. Following the vote in Parliament, President Emmanuel Macron said the decision was a source of pride for France and a message to the world. He also announced that he would celebrate International Women's Day on the 8th by publicly recognizing the National Day of the Constitution. The decision was met with cheers from abortion rights supporters, while the Eiffel Tower was lit up, displaying a message translating as "My body, my choice." Right before the vote, the Vatican expressed its opposition in a statement, saying there is no right to take a life. Watchers believe the latest decision by France could pave the way for other countries to guarantee the right to abortion in their constitutions. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. In Haiti, where the capital city of Port-au-Prince was overrun by armed gangs at the weekend, a gang leader has called for the ousting of Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry. The Prime Minister's whereabouts were unknown as of Monday, 3 days after he signed a bilateral accord in Kenya to pave the way for a possible multinational force to help restore order in the country. According to the UN, gangs now control 80% of the capital. The government has declared a state of emergency and a nighttime curfew from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. to try to regain control of the situation after thousands of inmates escaped from the capital's central prison. Many blame the Prime Minister for rapidly losing ground to the gangs over the past 3 years, while refusing to organize elections that would bring in a new government and a fresh start. NATO commenced a military exercise on Monday aimed at protecting its newly extended Nordic territory, with Finland and Sweden set to participate in a NATO military alliance exercise for the first time. More than 20,000 soldiers from 13 countries are participating in the drills, which will continue until the 15th of March in the northern regions of Finland, Norway, and Sweden. Sweden's bid to join the organization has been ratified by all NATO members, allowing the country to take part in collective defense in the alliance's regions. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket successfully launched on Monday, carrying 3 U.S. astronauts and 1 Russian cosmonaut to the International Space Station. This came after the first attempt to launch the Crew 8 mission on Saturday was postponed due to strong winds. Despite the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, space exploration remains one of the few areas where the United States and Russia continue to work closely together. The team will be in space for 6 months, where it will carry out over 200 science experiments, including growing artificial replicas of human organs in a low-gravity environment. The 4 crew members are scheduled to reach the ISS on Tuesday. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It's Gyeongchip today, already the 3rd spring season term out of 6. It looks to be a rainy Gyeongchip though. We've sure seen frequent rain or snow this season. Now the east of Gangwon-do could see up to 30 millimeters of rain. Jeju Island could see 10 to 40 millimeters of showers. But heavier showers or snow in mountainous regions on the island. 1 to 5 centimeters could fall there, while mountainous regions in Gangwon-do could see 15 centimeters of snow through Wednesday. Afternoon highs are 1 to 5 degrees lower than yesterday. Especially those in southern regions are having chillier highs at about 9 degrees over in Daegu. Now, Gwangju tops out at 10 degrees Celsius, Seoul at 11 degrees, with spotty to no rain forecasted in the capital area. Meanwhile, strong wind advisory is in place on Jeju and parts of the south coast. On and off wet weather is in the forecast through Thursday in Gangwon-do and southern regions, while temperatures continue to go up and down. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions. And those are the headlines at this hour here in Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session, so do stay with us.